In the turn of time occurred the world spirit light into the earthly stream of beings. Night darkness had ended its prevail. The brightest light streamed into human souls. Light that warms the poor shepherd hearts. Light that enlightens the wise king's heads. Divine light, Christ's Son, warm our hearts, enlighten our heads, though that good will be what we through our hearts rise, what we through our heads purposefully want to lead. Thank you for joining us by this now lesson number 16 for the esoteric lesson of the spiritual high school. How it was given by Rudolf Steiner in 1924. Please pay attention on that. This is something what we really can call a worship, a divine service, a worship to God, a Christ worship, a Michael worship. So stay if possible without that anything can disturb you from outside, and to be, if possible, to watch and hear it in one piece, and be in a highly concentrated consciousness and a devout mood, like in a divine service. It is a message what we have got from the spiritual world, and which really can help us to work on our own, to get on the right way into the spiritual world. What you have heard in the beginning was the last part of the foundation stone from Rudolf Steiner, like it was given at Christmas time 1923 at a foundation stone for the Anthroposophical Society and also for this high school. In the start I will speak the board number 2 and the board number 3. Recognize first the earnest guardian who stands before the gate of spirit's land, the entrance your senses forces and your mind's power refusing, because you are in senses weaving and in thoughts shaping, from spaces beinglessness, from time's deception power, the true of own being you must first forcefully conquer. And the third board is, I entered this senses world, the legacy of thinking carrying with me. A God's power had led me here. The death It stands at the way's end. I won't feel the Christ being. It wakes in the matter's death, spirit's birth. So in the spirit I find the world and recognize myself in world's creation. The lesson 16. Dear my friends, we will again start by letting the words resound from the cosmos near and far, which can be heard by everyone who correctly understands the world. But before doing so, because again many new members of the esoteric school are present, I must say at least a few words about the meaning of this school. I will put it briefly. This school must be recognized as one which brings down its information from the spiritual world to human souls. Therefore, what lives here in the school and what is brought to human souls are to be perceived as communication from the spiritual world itself. From this you will understand that membership in the school must be regarded as serious in the highest degree. This seriousness has only become possible because of the constitution which the Anthroposophical Society received during the Christmas conference. Since then, the Anthroposophical Society is an openly public institution, but at the same time one through which an esoteric breath flows, which has been better received than the former exoteric one. So nothing more is expected from the members of the Anthroposophical Society than that they feel themselves to be receivers of anthroposophical wisdom. And of course, that what is generally expected of decent people in life. But membership in the school implies even more, that the members recognize the serious conditions for membership, namely the basic condition that anyone who wishes to belong to the school should present himself in life in such a way that he is in every respect a representative of anthroposophy before the world. To be a representative of anthroposophy before the world necessarily means that whatever he or she does in connection to anthroposophy, be it ever so remotely connected, also be with the approval of the leadership of the school, that is, with the esoteric executive committee of the Goetheanum. Thus, through the school, a real stream can enter the anthroposophical movement, which today is represented by the Anthroposophical Society. Therefore, it is necessary that membership in the school be understood in such a way that the member feels in his whole being that he is a part of what is being done and revealed from here in the Goetheanum. Such a condition should not be taken as a restriction on human freedom, my dear friends, for membership in the school rests on reciprocity. The leadership of the school must be free to give what it has to give to whom it considers right to do so. And the fact that no one is obligated to be a member of the school, but that it depends on his free will. To be a member means that the leadership may also place conditions on membership without anyone claiming that his free will is in any way infringed upon. It is a free agreement between the leadership of the school and those who wish to be members. Furthermore, in order that the school really be taken seriously, it cannot be otherwise than the leadership exercise its right to revoke a membership whenever it considers necessary because of certain events. And my dear friends, that the leadership of the school takes this seriously is shown by the fact that since a relatively short time the school has existed, 16 members already had to be suspended for shorter or longer length of time. And I must again emphasize that this measure will have to be strictly adhered to in the future, regardless of the personalities involved, because we will be entering ever more deeply into esoteric matters. And now the words will be spoken which are always spoken in the beginning of our deliberations, reminding us of the admonitions which resound from all the events and beings of the world to all those who have the heart to understand them. The admonition to self-knowledge, which is the true foundation of world knowledge. O man, know yourself, so resounds the world. You hear its soul powerful, you feel its spirit vastness. Who speaks so word fastly? Who speaks so felt heartily? Does it act through space, distant radiation? In your senses being experiences? Does it sound through time's wave weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it you, yourself, who in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling for aim, sensing in space's emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking, losing in the time-destroying stream. My dear friends, we have advanced in respect to what has been sent to us from the spiritual world in the form of mantras, to the mantric verses which correspond to the esoteric situation in which we feel ourselves. First of all, in meditation we imagine the being standing at the abyss of existence, speaking to us. Let us imagine it once more, for we cannot recall it to our souls too often. We see before us everything belonging to the kingdoms of natures. We observe the glorious heavenly bodies, we see the floating clouds, we see the wind and the waves, the thunder and lightning. We see everything from the humblest worm to the sublimest revelations in the glittering stars. Only a false asceticism, unrelated to true esotericism, it could in any way despise the world that speaks to the sense. The person who wishes to be truly human can do nothing other than intimately relate to the sense perceptible life, from the humblest creator to the majestic, divinely glittering stars. We must never despise the grandeur and awesome beauty of all that surrounds us, which we must acknowledge. We must go forward, step by step, in the world, and be able to appreciate what our eyes see, what our ears hear, what the other senses perceive, what we can grasp with our reason. However, a moment comes as you look around at the expanse of space, at the interweaving of time, that despite all the grandeur and awesome beauty in your surroundings, you cannot find there what the inner nature of your being is. So you must say to yourself, the inner source of my being is to be thought elsewhere. The very power of such a thought affects you. What follows for the soul can only be expressed in imaginative thoughts. At first, these imaginative thoughts lead us to a wide field in which everything earthly and sense-perceptible is spread out before us. We find it to be radiant with the sun. We find it to be shining light. But as we look all around us, we find our own self nowhere. Then we gaze before us and see that this sunny field, which is grandiose and beautiful and sublime to the sense, is blocked by a dark, night-bedecked wall. We see ourselves entering deeply into the darkness. We intuit that perhaps there in the darkness is our self's true origin, but we cannot see into it. And as we follow the path of forward, the abyss of existence, the threshold of the spiritual world appears before us. We must cross over this abyss. The guardian stands there warning us that we must be mature in order to cross over the abyss, for with our thinking, feeling and willing habits which correspond to the physical, sense-perceptible world, we cannot cross over the abyss of existence into the spiritual world in which our real self originated. The guardian of threshold is the first spiritual being we encounter. Every night we are in the spiritual world when we sleep, but it is like darkness around our eye and our astral body, because we can only enter this spiritual world when sufficiently mature. The guardian of the threshold protects us from entering immaturely, but now as we encounter him, he sends us his grand admonishments, and the admonishments are contained in the mantric verses, which until now have formed the content of the esoteric lessons. Those of you who do not yet have the mantric verses can obtain them from other members of the school, but the following procedure must be observed. Not the person who is to receive the verses asks for permission, but the one who gives them. These verses have not only shown us how our hearts are to react if we wish to cross over the abyss of existence, they have also shown us what our souls will feel once we have overflown the abyss and gradually sense, not yet see, but sense, how the darkness which was at first night bedecked gradually becomes lighter. At first we feel becoming lighter, and we feel that the elements, earth, water, air, fire, are different on the other side, that we are living in another world. And the world is which we recognize our own being, and therewith the true form of the elements is indeed another world. During the last lesson, we considered the meditation with which we were to imagine how the guardian stands before the abyss of existence. Now we are already beyond it. First we feel, not yet see, how the darkness becomes lighter. The guardian speaks to us after he had previously made clear to us how we should comport ourselves in relation to the four elements. He tells us how the four elements change for us. He then asks questions. Who answers? The hierarchies themselves answer the questions. From one side, the third hierarchy, angeloi, archangeloi, archai. From the other side, the second hierarchy. From the third side, the third hierarchy. The third hierarchy, angeloi, archangeloi, archai, answers when the guardian of the threshold asks what becomes of the earth's solidity. The second hierarchy, exousiae dynamis curiotetis, answer when the guardian of the threshold asks us what becomes of the water, shaping force, formative force, which acts in us and gives us our inner configuration. And the first hierarchy, the thrones, cherubim, seraphim, answers when the guardian asks us what becomes of our breathing, the air's stimulating power, which awakes us from dull, plant-like existence to sentient, feeling existence. Such mantras are to penetrate our souls, our hearts, to extent that we feel ourselves to be within the situation. The guardian of the threshold poses the testing, admonishing questions. The hierarchies answer. The guardian. What becomes of the earth's firmness which supported you? Angeloi. Feel as we feel in your thinking. Archangeloi. Experience as we experience in your feeling. Archai. Look as we look in your willing. The guardian. What becomes of the water's shaping force which pervaded you? Exousiai. Recognize spirit's, world's creation in human body creation. Dynamis. Feel spirit's, world's life in human body life. Curiotetis. Will, spirit's, world's happenings in the human body being. The guardian. What becomes of air's stimulating force which awakened you? Thrones. Knowingly grasp inner being in your divine world's being. Cherubim. Warm on inner life in your divine world's life. Seraphim. Awake within you inner light in your divine world's light. These, my dear sisters and brothers, are the admonishing words coming from the communion of the guardian of threshold together with the hierarchies which bring our souls ever forward if we experience them more and more in the right way. In this way, we are doing what is appropriated for human beings of today and the future. What in the ancient holy mysteries meant that the student was being guided to the essence of the elements, earth, water, air, but warmth, which is also an element, pervades everything in the solid earth element which supports us is warmth, in the element of water which forms us as human, which gives form to our organs, causing them to develop and grow, warmth is also present, and in the element of air, by which the Jehovah spirits once breathed into humanity its soul, through which man is even today awakened from this his dull, plant-like existence. Warmth is present. Warmth is everywhere. We must recognize it as the all-pervading element. We must immerse ourselves in it as the all-pervading element. Yes, we feel so close to it. We feel far from the solid earth element, though we still feel the earth support, this support. We even feel far from the water element. The air element maintains a more intimate relation to us. When the air element does not fill us with regularity, when we have too much breath in us or too little, our inner life indicates how the air element is connected to us. Too much breath awakens fear in the soul. Too little causes fainting. Our soul is embraced by the air element. We feel ourselves most intimately united with the warmth element. We ourselves are what is warm or cold in us. In order to live, we must generate a certain amount of warmth. We are intimately close to the warmth element. If we want to be closer to it, then not only one hierarchy can speak, then the remaining words must resound together from various hierarchies. Therefore, when the guardian of threshold asks questions of us concerning the warmth element, the answer from the cosmos are different. The guardian asks the questions. What becomes of fires cleansing which have flamed your eye? We already know this question. It is a question about our entrance into the element of warmth or fire. But now the answer does not come from one hierarchy or from a rank of one of the hierarchy, but the answer comes in core from the angeloi, the exousiai, the thrones. Secondly, the archangeloi, dynamis, cherubim answer the guardian's question, and thirdly, archai, kuriotetis, seraphim answer. Thus the three answers about the general nature of warmth resounds from the core-like words of the three hierarchies. Therefore, we are to imagine that when we hear the guardian of threshold's warning reminders, the answers which resounds from our eye, but which are stimulated by the hierarchies, come from all sides. First, angeloi, exousiai, thrones. Secondly, speak the archangeloi, dynamis, cherubim. And thirdly, speaks archai, kuriotetis, seraphim. All three hierarchies always speak. A rank from each of the three hierarchies always speaks. Thus, the answer comes to us from the cosmos. The guardian speaks. What becomes of fire's cleansing, which aflamed your eye, angeloi, exousiae trons? Awaken yourself in the world etheric fastness, the flaming script of life. From all three hierarchies, we are reminded that everything which happened to us during earthly life is recorded in the world ether, in the cosmic ether, and we see it recorded there when we have passed through the gate of death. Once we have passed through the gate of death, looking back at our earthly life, but also gazing out at the etheric vastness, what we have done and accomplished in thoughts, feelings and deeds during earthly life is recorded. It is your life's flaming script. Archangeloi, dynamis, cherubim, answer in us. Create yourself in time wave circles, the soul's atonement forces. We are admonished during the second stage. We go through after passing through the gate of death, where we experience in reverse, in mirror images, that is, in its just atonement. What we have done here on earth, if we have harmed another human being in any way, we experience in the reverse stream of time what the other felt because of us. As I have said, the Archangeloi, dynamis and cherubim admonish us in the second stage, which we pass through between death and new birth. What our karma works through during the third stage, what happens when as souls we cooperate with other human souls and with the beings of the higher hierarchies. The Archai, primal powers, Kyriotetis and Seraphim admonish us. Supplicate yourself in eternal being deeds, the spirit redemptive forces. We must feel ourselves completely within this situation, the speaking guardian of the threshold, his earnest gesture towards us, his admonishment, and from the cosmic vastness resounding, grasping our heart, what connects us with the riddle of life. And the mantra will now be written on board. The guardian speaks. What becomes of fire's clean thing which aflamed your eye? Angeloi exudeae trons, awaken yourself in the world etheric vastness, the flaming script of life. Archangeloi, dynamis, cherubim, they answer in us. Create yourself in time wave circles, the soul's atonement forces. Archae curiotetis seraphim, supplicate yourself in eternal being deeds, the spirit redemptive forces. What previously stood before us like a black night enclosed darkness is not yet illuminated by light for the soul's eye, but we have the feeling that while we are standing within this black night enclosed darkness, wherever we reach out, we begin to feel a glimmering light, and we find ourselves in the situation where we know that we ourselves are within the glimmering light. We feel ourselves moving toward the guardian of the threshold. We had only seen him as long as we were in the field of the senses. Then we stepped into the darkness and heard his questioning, admonishing words. But these admonishing, questioning words had led us to where we now feel something like a mild weaving, moving light. In this weaving, moving light, we make our way to the guardian of the threshold, seeking help. It is a unique experience, not yet light, but the light is making itself felt. And this felt light, in this felt light, the guardian of the threshold, manifesting himself as though he were becoming more intimate with us, as though he were leaning more to us now, as though we were also stepping closer to him. And what he now says seems as though in earthly life a person is whispering something confidential in our ear, and what were at first admonishing earnest words, trumpet-like, powerful, majestic from all sides of the cosmos, coming to our hearts, continues now as an intimate conversation with the guardian of the threshold in weaving, moving light. For now it is as though he no longer just speaks to us. It is as though he whispering to us. Has understood your spirit. Our inner self becomes warm when the guardian of the threshold says in confidence, has understood your spirit. Our inner self becomes warm. It experiences itself in the warmth, and this inner self feels obligated to answer with devotion, quietly and humbly. Thus we imagine in the meditation. The world's spirit in me, it held its breath and its presence may enlighten my eye. Our eye does not answer the question. Has understood your spirit with pride and arrogance? I have understood, but I feel it. The eye feels divine, being streams through the innermost essence of the human being. It is divine breath in man which quietly lingers and prepares us for understanding. And it will be written on board. The guardian has understood your spirit, the I, the world's spirit in me. It held its breath and its presence may enlighten my eye. Secondly, the guardian in confidence asks, has comprehend your soul? The world's souls in me, they lived in the stars' council, and their harmonies may sounding, creating my eye. Again, it is not proudly that the eye is tempted to answer when the guardian asks, as comprehend your soul. Rather is the soul becoming aware that in it speaks the world's souls of the beings of the higher hierarchies, and that in what they say not an individual entity is present, but an entire council, a consultative meeting, as if the planets of a planetary system were cycling and contributing their respective illuminating forces. Thus do the world's souls send their conscious suggestions. Our soul hears and hopes that from the harmonies the I will be so formed that the I in the human being is an echo of the cosmic harmonies, which arise when world souls take counsel among each other, like the planets in the solar system, and their advice and harmonies resound in the human soul, and a verse will be written on board. Has comprehend your soul? The world's souls in me, they lived in the stars' council, and their harmonies may sounding, creating my eye. And the third confidential question, which the guardian directs to the person in this situation, is this: has experienced your body? The soul feels that in this body the world forces which are everywhere, are concentrated in one point in the space. But these cosmic forces do not appear now as physical forces. The soul has long since become aware of how these forces, which from outside appear as active physical forces, as gravitational, electrical, magnetical forces, as worms forces, as light forces, when they are active in the human body, are moral forces, are transformed into will forces. The soul feels the cosmic sources, the world forces, as those which constitute eternal universal justice throughout the succession of earth's life. The soul feels them to be like forces of judgment, which weave in the verdict of karma, and therewith the I itself. When the guardian asks in confidence, "Has your body experienced?" the human being feels obligated to answer with devotion to universal justice. The world's forces in me, they huge human deeds, and their true saying words may guide me the I. And the third part will be written on blackboard. The guardian, has your body experienced the I, the world's forces in me, they huge human deeds, and their true saying words may guide me the I. Thus, after having experienced the metamorphosis of the cosmic elements, together with the guardian of the threshold and the hierarchies, the soul answers the guardian forces, answers the guardian's three questions with inner devotion, interwoven with what has been poured into it. The soul has advanced somewhat in answering the riddle of the word. O man, know yourself. And today we will compare the opening words after having been filled with the element of warmth in devotion to the spiritual content of the cosmos, feeling how we have advanced further in following the great admonishment. O man, know yourself. We will see how we as human beings stand between the resounding of the demand for self-knowledge from all the cosmic events and beings, and the mantric verse which has been contemplated in today's lesson. O man, ye know yourself, so resounds the world's word. You hear it, soul powerful. You feel it, spirit wasteness. Who speaks so world fastly? Who speaks so felt heartily? Does it act through space distant radiation? In your senses being experience? Does it sound through time's wave weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it you yourself who, in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling foreign, sensing in space's emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking losing in the time-destroying stream? What becomes of fire's cleansing which aflamed your eye? Awaken yourself in world etheric vastness, the flaming script of life. Create yourself in time wave circles, the soul's atonement forces. Supplicate yourself in eternal being deeds, the spirit redemptive forces. Has understood your spirit, the word spirit in me, it held its breath, and its presence may enlighten my eye. Has comprehend your soul, the world's souls in me, they lift in the stars' council, and their harmonies may sounding create my eye. Has experienced your body, the world's forces in me, they huge human deeds, and their true saying words may guide me the eye. Thank you very much.